Ray Stannard Baker. April 17, 1870 in Lansing, Michigan. July 12, 1946 in Amherst, Massachusetts. Also known by his pen name David Grayson, was an American journalist, historian, biographer, and author. Biography. Baker was born in Michigan. After graduating from the State Agricultural College, now Michigan State University, he attended law school at the University of Michigan in 1891 before launching his career as a journalist in 1892 with the Chicago News-Record, where he covered the Pullman strike and Coxey's Army in 1894. In 1896, Ray Stannard Baker married Jessie Beal. They had 4 children: Alice Beal, 1897, James Stannard, 1889, Roger Denio, 1902, and Rachel Moore, 1906. In 1898 Baker joined the staff of McClure's, a pioneer muckraking magazine, and quickly rose to prominence along with Lincoln Steffens and Ida Tarbell. He also dabbled in fiction, writing children's stories for the magazine Youth's Companion and a 9-volume series of stories about rural living in America, the first of which was titled Adventures in Contentment, 1910, under his pseudonym David Grayson, which reached millions of readers worldwide. In 1907, dissatisfied with the muckraker label, Baker, Steffens, and Tarbell left McClure's and founded the American magazine. In 1908, after the 1906 Atlanta race riot got him involved, Baker published the book Following the Color Line, an account of Negro citizenship in the American democracy, becoming the first prominent journalist to examine America's racial divide. It was extremely successful. Sociologist Rupert Vance says it is the best account of race relations in the South during the period, one that reads like field notes for the future historian. This account was written during the zenith of Washingtonian movement and shows the optimism that it inspired among both liberals and moderates. The book is also notable for its realistic accounts of Negro town life. He followed up that work with numerous articles in the following decade. In 1910, he moved to the town of Amherst, Massachusetts. In 1912 Baker supported the presidential candidacy of Woodrow Wilson, which led to a close relationship between the two men. And in 1918 Wilson sent Baker to Europe to study the war situation. During peace negotiations, Baker served as Wilson's press secretary at Versailles. He eventually published 15 volumes about Wilson and internationalism, including the 6th-volume The Public Papers of Woodrow Wilson, 1925 to 1927, with William Edward Dodd, and the 8th-volume Woodrow Wilson, Life and Letters, 1927 to 39, the last 2 volumes of which won the Pulitzer Prize for biography or autobiography in 1940. He served as an advisor on Darrell F. Zanuck's 1944 film Wilson. Baker wrote 2 autobiographies, Native American, 1941, and American Chronicle, 1945. Baker died of a heart attack in Amherst, Massachusetts, and is buried there in Wildwood Cemetery. Buildings have been named in honor of both Ray Stannard Baker and David Grayson. His pen name, a dormitory, Grayson Hall, is at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. The David Grayson Elementary School is in Waterford, Michigan. An academic building, Baker Hall, is at Michigan State University. Baker's brother Hugh Potter Baker was the president of Massachusetts State College that later became the University of Massachusetts. Footnotes. Works. Shop Talks on the Wonders of Crafts. Chicago, 1895. Our New Prosperity. New York. Doubleday and Company. McClure, 1900. Seen in Germany. New York. McClure, Phillips. 1901. Boy's Second Book of Inventions. New York. McClure, Phillips. 1903. The Reign of Lawlessness, Anarchy and Despotism in Colorado. McClure's Magazine. Volume 23. No. 1. May 1904. pp. 43-57. Adventures in Contentment. 1907. As David Grayson. The Atlanta Riot. 1907. Following the Color Line. An Account of Negro Citizenship in the American Democracy. New York. Doubleday. Page and Company. New York. 1908. Read online. New Ideals in Healing. New York. Frederick A. Stokes Company. 1909. Adventures in Friendship. New York. Doubleday. Page and Company. 1910. Read online. The Spiritual Unrest. New York. Frederick A. Stokes Company. 1910. Read online. Great Possessions. A New Series of Adventures. New York. Doubleday. Page and Company. 1917. As David Grayson. Read online. What Wilson Did at Paris. New York. 1919. Woodrow Wilson and World Settlement. 3 vols. New York. Doubleday. Page and Company. 1922-1923. Read Volume 3 online. An American Pioneer in Science. The Life and Service of William James Beale. With Jesse B. Baker. Amherst, Mass. Privately printed. 1925. The Public Papers of Woodrow Wilson. With William Edward Dodd. 6 volumes. 1925-1927. Woodrow Wilson. Life and Letters. 8 vols. New York. Doubleday. Page. And Doubleday. Doran. 1927-1939. Youth. 1856-1890. 1927. Princeton. 1890-1910. 1927. Governor. 1910-1913. 1931. Quote. President. 1913-1914. 1931. Neutrality 1914-1915. 1935. Facing War. 1915-1917. 1937. War Leader. April 6. 1917 February 28. 1918. 1939. Armistice. March 1 to November 11. 1918. 1939. Quote. 1940 Pulitzer Prize for Biography or Autobiography. Woodrow Wilson. Neutrality. 1914-1915. New York. Doubleday. Page and Company. 1935. Read online. The Capture, Death and Burial of J. Wilkes Booth. Poor Richard Press. 1940. Read online. Native American. The Book of My Youth. New York. Charles Scribner's Sons. 1941. American Chronicle. The Autobiography of Ray Stannard Baker. As David Grayson. Charles Scribner's Son. 1945. Read online. A Journalist's Diplomatic Mission. Ray Stannard Baker's World War I Diary. John Maxwell Hamilton. ed. Baton Rouge, L.A. Louisiana State University Press. 2012. Further reading. Bannister, Robert C. Ray Stannard Baker. The Mind and Thought of a Progressive. 1966. Ray Stannard Baker Papers at the Seeley G. Mudd Manuscript Library. Princeton University. Works by Ray Stannard Baker at Project Gutenberg. Works by David Grayson at Project Gutenberg. Works by or about David Grayson at Internet Archive. Works by or about Ray Stannard Baker at Internet Archive. Bannister, Robert. Ray Stannard Baker. A Guide to Resources. Retrieved 9 October 2006. Papers. Special Collections. Jones Library. Amherst, M.A. Ray Stannard Baker at Finder Grave. Ray Stannard Baker's collected journalism at the Archive of American Journalism.